Welcome to the Q&A section of the training. If you haven't already seen the training, you definitely want to go back and watch that before watching this video. You'll find it up here. Today we'll answer a lot of questions. As you know from watching the training, it was quite detailed and you likely have a lot of questions. I bet your question was asked by someone who attended the training live. If it wasn't, go ahead and leave it in the comments below and we'll try to get back to you with an answer. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily Levy, founder and director of scrutineers.org, which is an online community dedicated to protecting the voters and protecting the votes. We are part of the election protection movement, proudly working for our democracy, and we're a nonpartisan organization. You can find us at scrutineers.org to join in our efforts. Any resources that we mention in the Q&A video that you're about to watch are also linked in the description of the video below. Please support this work by liking the video, by commenting, by subscribing, and by sharing it with other poll workers you know. Let's jump in. And now we're ready to open it up for questions. So what email do I send to notify them of my application? Okay, I think this question is about how to reach out to your county to make sure they got your application. And the way to do that is if you go to Poll Hero, they have information about how to reach your county there. So if you go to pollhero.org, or I believe also workthepolls.org, Jenny, is that the name of the other one? I think so. I think it's, maybe somebody could look that up and put it into the chat, is another one. Or you can just search for the name of your county and the name of your state and election department on the web and find an email address or phone number there and check in with them about what's happening with your application. Okay, I haven't received information on training yet, and I submitted my application over a month ago. I've emailed my county, but no response. What should I do? Keep emailing them. Be a squeaky wheel, or also try calling them. And then another thing that I would do, and I haven't heard anybody else suggest this, but if I were in your shoes, this is what I would do, is I would pretend to be someone else and start over in the process and see if you get any kind of message saying we already have enough poll workers. Because I am honestly really curious about, I'm hearing from so many people that they haven't heard back. And I imagine that in some places it's because they've been overwhelmed with people applying to be poll workers. I've heard that some counties rather, are really filled up with poll workers. But are there places that are slowing the works intentionally, kind of like the mail is being slowed down as a way to interfere with the election? Might there be election offices doing that? I don't know. So it's a way to do a little bit of research to see if they still seem to be asking people to apply. And if they're asking people to apply and yet not responding when people do, I think that's something to report at CSA 2020 and to the 866 Our Vote hotline. Next question. My county told me I would have no training prior to my shift, and I'm a student poll worker that's been approved, but you mentioned a training session. Do certain roles not require training? Okay, so my opinion here is that absolutely every role requires training, and I was shocked to learn this year that there are states that don't provide training to poll workers. So what I would suggest to you, we actually have been collecting poll worker manuals from different places, and I'm wondering if you're still here and you could type into the chat, did they provide you with a manual? And I don't know what your name is, so just let me know if they in the chat if they provided you with a manual. So what I would say is, if they provided you with a manual, read it a couple of times, read it really closely, join us in Scrutineers so that you've got some experienced people to ask your questions to. It's really, to my mind, unacceptable that they're not providing training. And that said, the job of an election department is really, really hard, and a tremendous amount is being expected of them this year, and they haven't gotten enough extra funding to take care of all the things they're being expected to do because of the pandemic. And so So it's really unfortunate, and I think that scrutineers may be able to pick up some of the slack and help you understand what you need to know. If you come join the poll worker circle, which is our small group within scrutineers for poll workers, you'll be able to converse there with other people who can probably answer your questions as well. Do we sign up for Photo Finish at Protect Our Votes? Okay, so Photo Finish is a project that's coordinating people to do photographing of poll tapes, which is an organization that Jenny Cohn, one of our speakers today, is one of the founders of. And Jenny, I don't know if you shared yet the link about where people can sign up with you to do poll tape photography, but if you haven't, please put that link into the chat. Mary asks, it might be helpful to poll workers for you to post a picture of a poll tape as an illustration. Yes, Melissa, would you add that to the list of what should be in the follow-up email? Thank you, Mary. For those of us that haven't heard back from Poll Hero, should we just continue waiting for a response or keep reaching out? This is a different question. So what I've been hearing from people, I thought, is that you've applied. So Poll Worker is not doing the hiring of, Poll Hero is not doing the hiring of poll workers. Poll Hero, like scrutineers, is a non-governmental organization that has an interest in fair elections. And Poll Hero said, we hear that so people came together and said, we understand that there's a need for our young people to step up as poll workers this year. We are going to recruit college and high school students to be poll workers and help them through the process of applying with their county. When you go through the Poll Hero website, I've been talking for a long time. When you go through the Poll Hero website and apply to be a poll worker, you're not applying with Poll Hero, you're applying at your county. So if Poll Hero isn't getting back to you, that's different from if your county isn't getting back to you. And what I would say is if there's something you've asked Poll Hero and they're not replying, if you're on Twitter, try sending them a direct message. They seem to reply really well to those. But it's really, if you're waiting to be hired, it's really your county elections office or board of elections that you need to contact, not Poll Hero. Akira asks, I hope I'm saying your name right. Who do we report to when this happens to the machine? Let's see. I'm not sure because I didn't see the question at the time you were asking it. What do you mean? But so if the machines break down and that impacts how many people can vote, or it means that it's dealt with by somebody coming and opening up the machine, those are things that should be reported to CSA 2020 and the 866-hour vote hotline. I hope that answers your question. If not, will you ask it again? Because I'm not sure what you're referring to exactly. And Trinity says, what do you mean when you say that we need to see if the machines are secure? How do we know if they are or not? So the video I'm going to send you in the follow-up email shows the person with the camera walking up to a building. It looks like it might be a community center or something like that. You can't really tell what the building is in the video. He walks toward the door automatically opens. He walks across the lobby where there's one person sitting not paying attention, and he opens a door to a room. Inside the room is a polling place set up with voting machines. Nobody's there making sure that they're safe, and the doors were unlocked. So that's what I meant. I think that that would be really obvious. If you think of the voting machine as something that's very vulnerable, that can be manipulated in a way that changes the votes that are cast on them, if they're unguarded, that's really a problem. Mark asks, exactly how should voting machinery be secured when we arrive at the polling place? What measures should be taken? So certainly they should be either locked or guarded or both. And I mean, ideally, there would also be video surveillance, but I don't think that's the case everywhere. But let's start with locked or guarded or both. Thank you, Mark. Another question, how do we get in contact with our local elections office? So The easiest thing for most people to do is to go online and look up the name of your county and the name of your state. So for me, it would be San Francisco, California Elections Office, and you'll get to their website. How do I get more training in time to work at early voting next Saturday? So what I would say is this. It depends on, first, first of all, find out if there's training offered at your county, if that's the training you're talking about. And if you've got the manual from them, you want to read that. We are not going to be offering another live training like this before next Saturday. However, if you come join scrutineers and come to the circle, to the poll worker circle, our small group for poll workers, which is kind of like a Facebook group. When I say it's a group, it's not like, we're going to be sitting around a table together even or on Zoom, but it's a place that we have a threaded discussion board that's on the topics related to being poll workers. You can ask questions that you have in there, and our members are tremendously helpful. So people will be able to help you with your questions. Next question. I was told I was put on the waiting list about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I sent an email about a week ago to my county official, but I've not heard from them. What can I do? I think the answer is basically the same as for the people who haven't heard at all. Keep calling and asking. And in fact, you might even ask, if you don't need me as a poll worker, is there something else you need me to do? I've been hired before by my local election office when I lived in a different county to actually work at the election department and help check in the materials when they came in at the end of the night from the polling places. So there's some other positions like that that might be available to you too. And if you express interest in those, that will show them that you're really dedicated and might, who knows, might move you up on the list. When would I get my polling location? That is going to vary from county to county. I will not be surprised if people aren't finding out until like a day or two before the election where they're going to be working, or perhaps even if they're going to be working. Election offices are so overwhelmed this year. They are having to, respond to the pandemic in all kinds of ways. They're having to deal with levels of mail-in voting that they never anticipated having to deal with, and they're pedaling as fast as they can. So try to be understanding and also be persistent. Catherine says, hi, I'm working in a non-swing state that uses machine-read, hand-marked paper ballots. I'm assigned to tend the tabulation machine and take hourly readings of the machine count. To my knowledge, there's no way for the voter to ensure that the machine has counted their vote accurately. Is this a concern, or is the existence of the paper ballot itself a sufficient safeguard? Fantastic question. So yes, it's a concern. None of us can see inside those scanners that count paper ballots to see that they're counting accurately. So but there are a few things that we can do to try to make sure they're counting accurately. And so one of the things is that all election districts, election jurisdictions in the country should be auditing the results. They should be doing a hand count of the votes on a certain number of paper ballots to verify that that matches the machine counts. And it varies a lot whether that's happening and how robust an audit is done. That varies a lot from state to state. So theoretically, the existence of the paper ballot is a safeguard, but it doesn't really help that much if nobody actually looks at them. So that's the beginning of the answer, and kind of as far as I can go with it today, and happy to discuss that more with you and scrutineers, and I think probably other members would be happy to have a conversation about that as well. I'm in Kern County, which is in California, and I'm 16. I haven't heard back. Should I reapply, or can I only apply once? I would not recommend reapplying because it just gives them more work to do. I'd recommend following up on the application that you already submitted. Frank asked, as a new poll worker, I was provided with a flipbook manual with lots of information. When I report for work, what positions will I be asked to? Kind of overwhelming. Not exactly sure what that means. I think it means like, which of the things that are in the poll described in the poll book will you be expected to do? And there's no way that I can answer that. I don't know if there's different roles assigned to different people where you are going to be working. What I would say is get as comfortable as you can with the manual. If you're able to read it a couple of times, do. Definitely take it with you and maybe mark some things you think you might want to look at again and again with Post-it notes so that you can find them easily. You're going to have to look things up in the manual during the day as you're working. It's just the way it is, especially the first time you work an election. So use whatever study guides you know how to do to help you find the information quickly when you want it. Next question. I have signed up and gotten emails on updates on the election and poll working, but I have not received any emails or text messages saying I was hired. So I was wondering, what should I do? So I think I've pretty much answered this question by now. The other thing that I will say is, please, if you think you might be finding out by email, check your spam folder to make sure there's nothing in there. It might be that they're using a different address from the one that you wrote to. So kind of you use the search function in your email and be creative about what words might be in that email and search for them and see if maybe you've gotten an email and you missed it. But other than that, it's just be persistent and try to be thankful that it might mean they have enough poll workers already. I know that's not that satisfying if you're counting on the work and really dedicated, but it is really inspiring, I think, how many people have stepped forward to volunteer to work the polls. Do I need to read and understand all of this information, says Frank. I hear you. It's overwhelming, isn't it? It's really a lot. And one of the things that happens with those poll worker manuals is they're going to try to cover sort of every eventuality. And so the answer that I gave a moment ago about kind of creating a way for yourself to sort of really understand how the information is organized and give yourself a little bit of tools, like mark the pages that you think you might really need to look something up again. So there's some things that are like you definitely need to do, and it's important to understand those. If there's a checklist of items that you will need to do when you get to the polling place, you'll be able to look at it and go through it one at a time. So make sure you understand it, but you don't necessarily need to remember it. You'll be able to look at it and go through those points one at a time. And then some of the things that'll be in your manual are about how to respond if a certain situation comes up. So just understand how the information is organized so you'll be able to quickly find the right answer, even if you haven't read it. You know, if it's hundreds of pages of manual and you can't possibly read it in time, get familiar enough with it to be able to use it as a reference manual. Next question. Okay, I've already answered that question asked by a different person or added previously by the same person. Is there a map or list of precincts that need volunteers for photo finish? So this is a question for you, Jenny. Could I sign up to drive to other precincts after the polls close to document the poll tapes? So I'm going to let you unmute and answer that if you'd like to. Zoom is not letting me ask you to unmute. Can you type your answer? Oh, there you go. No. Not sure why that button is not working right now. Could you, Jenny, type your answer to that into the chat? So again, this is about the the organization that Jennifer is one of the founders of, and their project photographing poll tapes, which is called Photo Finish. So again, this is not part of your job as a poll worker, but an additional thing we're suggesting that you do. And you can go to Photo Finish's website, which I believe Jenny already posted. If you don't have the link to that, go ahead and put it in the chat and someone will help you with that.
Yeah, I can answer in her stead. She's not here.
Thank you, Benny.
But when you communicate with the folks at the Photo Finish, they do have lists of places. They typically ask for people to go where they live, so that it's easy for you to go around and take pictures of poll tapes. But once you reach out to them, they actually do have volunteer lists. They're pretty well organized.
Thank you, Benny. Thanks so much. Mariana asks, I am a student poll worker and my county has run out of in-person training sessions for general poll workers. So instead I was asked to attend a chairperson training next week. Should I go, or will that not be helpful since it's not my position? I think it'll be fascinating. So there is probably nothing that would be covered in the general training that won't be covered in the chairperson training. So you're going to learn more than you would have learned if you went to the general training, I believe. And also, since they're not providing you the training for the position they hired you for, they should at least welcome you to ask whatever questions you need to ask in that training. So I would recommend yes to go. I think it'll be fascinating. What if you have been in contact with a person from the Poll Hero Project, but they have not answered to any of my texts since they contacted me by my phone number? Should I call them? If you're on Twitter, I would send a direct message there. I don't even know if they have a public phone number. I haven't looked for one. I'm so oriented toward emailing and messaging on the computer. But if they have a phone number, sure, go ahead and call them. Catherine asks, I've had the official training, but don't know what I don't know. So knowing that you don't know what you don't know is worth something. And I will say that I plan to be, and I believe other members of Scrutineers will be hanging out a lot in Scrutineers, and we have actually a phone app also. So on election day, I expect to be on the site a lot and maybe available to answer some questions, though I won't know the answers to all the questions that come up for you as poll workers. So what I will say is just keep asking questions, and you are going to learn so much in this process, and hopefully everyone will be understanding with you, because you are poll heroes. You know, you have not meaning to be the organization but you are heroes to be stepping forward to do this work, and all you can do is the best you can do. Packy asks, can you give me the email address again for poll worker manuals to be sent to Scrutineers? Yes, it's volunteers@scrutineers.org. Volunteers with an S on the end. Thanks, Packy. If I'm going to be participating in the student election worker project, do I need acceptance from my county or just the poll working website? From your county if you're going to be a hired employee paid to work the polls. There are other organizations that are having volunteers show up at the polls to do different things, and for that you don't need to be in contact with your county. But if you're trying to get hired and paid as a poll worker, it's your county that can do that. In some cases, in some states, it's actually at the town or city level, but mostly it's county level. Excuse me. Anna asks, would the election officials assign someone to train you just in case you hear from them? I don't know how in order to assign you someone, they would have to be communicating with you, and then you would be hearing from them. So I don't think they're going to have individuals training you. I think that where there are training sessions offered, they're likely to be either videos for you to watch or Zoom presentations kind of like this one, but with different content. So I don't think there's going to be one-on-one training. That would really surprise me this year, given how overwhelmed everyone is. I hope that answers your question. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to know more about our work, you can find us at scrutineers.org. You can learn more about scrutineers here. Please comment below with any questions or insights that came up for you as you watched this video. Until next time, let's work together to protect our democracy. This election is definitely not going to protect itself. Thanks again for watching.